Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford and WHC TV's candidate debate for Town Council in West Hartford. We are pleased to be able to bring you this nonpartisan voter service, and we want to thank the campaigns for their cooperation in making this possible. My name is Carol Mulready, and I am president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford, and will serve as the moderator of this debate, one of three, with members of the council candidate slates. The League is a nonpartisan political organization which works to encourage informed and active participation in government. And we hope this debate will serve you as one piece of the information you will need to vote for the candidates for the council and later on the board on November 5th. The debate will be conducted in a modified cumulative time format. This debate allows the candidates to talk for a while on a subject that is of interest to them, and others to do a rebut on the topic, and they can continue this for as long as that is of interest to them, and getting the information over to the rest of the candidates and to the audience. Each will start with 10 minutes of time, and each will have a timer from the League of Women Voters who will indicate periodically how much time they have left. When speaking, each candidate will see the time that is remaining to make it easier for them to judge what responses they would like to make. Each candidate will also have, at the end of the debate time, 2 minutes for a closing statement. The order of precedence has been done by lottery before this session. It is now my pleasure to introduce the candidates to you, and we thank them for committing their time and effort to this public service of running for elective office, which certainly I know has been, quite the effort for you and time commitment. We are starting with Tad Bister. Tad grew up as the youngest of 3 children in a working family in Hudson Valley, New York. He was a top 10 graduate of his local high school. He earned an associate's degree in chemistry from his local community college before transferring to the State University of New York at Binghamton. There he earned his bachelor's degree in political science. He became the first in his family to attend graduate school when he attended law school at what is now Quinnipiac University School of Law. Tad is licensed to practice law in the states of New York and Connecticut, and in the federal courts for the Southern and Eastern Districts of New York and the District of Connecticut. He is licensed to practice before the United States Supreme Court. After clerking at the Stamford Superior Court and then practicing law for several years thereafter in Stamford, Tad moved himself and his law practice to West Hartford in 2001. Tad continues to maintain a solo law practice and primarily represents children and parents in divorce, custody, and child support cases in family court. Tad has actively served on the Town of West Hartford's Advisory Commission for Persons with Disabilities since February 2011, and since January 2013 is one of the town's Justices of the Peace. Tad now hopes to serve the town in a greater capacity and asks for your support on November 5th in his campaign for West Hartford Town Council. Thank you, Tad. And next, welcome Burke Dorr, who lives in West Hartford with his wife Carol and their 3 children. They are members of St. Thomas the Apostle Church. In addition to serving on Town Council, Burke volunteers as a youth basketball coach. He grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and graduated from Princeton University and Albany Law School. Burke served as a law clerk for Louis Freeh in the United States District Court. Louis Freeh is a former director of the FBI. Burke has devoted his career in the manufacturing industry and is a vice president for Trumpf, a global manufacturer in Farmington. Burke is principally responsible for managing the sales and marketing of Trump's machine tool products. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Burke's father is John Dorr, a 2012 recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Obama, and his brother Robert is Mayor Bloomberg's Commissioner of New York City's Human Resource Administration, which is the largest municipal social service agency. And our next candidate, Scott Slifka, welcome. Scott has served as the mayor of West Hartford since 2004 and on the town council since 2001. He is both the youngest and longest-serving mayor in West Hartford history. Prior to becoming mayor, he served nearly 3 years as deputy mayor. A lifelong West Hartford resident, Scott is a graduate of Hall High School, George Washington University, and George Washington University Law School. He serves as corporate counsel to Lego Systems Incorporated. He is married to Noelle Slifka, vice president and counsel, military engines and compliance for Pratt & Whitney, and also a former captain in the U.S. Army JAG Corps. They reside on Farmington Avenue with their 5-year-old daughter, Betsy, a kindergartner at Duffy School. And last but not least is Judy Casperson. Welcome, Judy. Judy and her husband Olaf and their daughters, Brianna and Tara Lynn, have been residents since 2001. Moving to West Hartford after Olaf's 21-year military career was a very thoughtful decision. Judy became involved with the community, seeking to serve on the board of the Bridge Family Center, School Improvement Committee, Playhouse on Park, and after joining the council, has chaired Human Services for the past 4 years. She is the vice president manager of TD Bank in West Hartford Center. So, again, welcome to all of you, and thank you for making this evening possible. So, starting with our questions, the first question goes to Tad. I am interested in finding out what you would do to maximize the potential of the fast-track bus route that's going between New Britain and West Hartford. It is a reality now. We see the construction everywhere. How can we in West Hartford best maximize what's there?
Well, thank you, Carol. First of all, before I answer that, I'd like to express my thanks to everyone involved with this, the League of Women Voters of Greater Hartford, West Hartford Community TV, Channel 5, and as well as our timekeepers and obviously our participants. So, as far as the busway, I was opposed to the busway to begin with. I think that the funds that were used for that particular project could better have been used to do other projects that would have been more beneficial to the residents of West Hartford. However, it's a reality now, and I think that we need to make the best of it. I think that we have the opportunity here to expand our neighborhoods in Elmwood, as well as along New Park Avenue, to bring in businesses, expand those business sectors, bring in businesses that will employ town residents, as well as people from out of town who can then use the busway to come into that area. Perhaps also have some restaurants and other smaller businesses that would attract people from New Britain and from Hartford that could use the busway to come in and take advantage of those businesses.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure, I'll go, and I'd also like to say, much like Tad did, Carol, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for League for presenting it. Everybody at Channel 5 for putting this on. To my candidates, fellow candidates, for the time they're putting into this, not just tonight, but on the campaign trail. I think an important reminder to everybody who's watching home, and thank you at home as well, or whatever camera I'm supposed to be talking to. I think I have some practice at this. Apparently, I need more. To thank you for watching. This is the way that democracy works. But note that everybody here, either if they're serving now or aspiring to serve, they're going to be a volunteer. And these are, whatever you might think of the positions, we're people who have chosen to give time back at no compensation to their community, and that's been the foundation of this town. And everybody should be complimented for that. To the question about Fast Track, I also was a longtime opponent of the busway, and it's now got a new name that's been part of the new branding. I still am very skeptical about whether it's going to succeed, but as you said in the intro, Carol, it is a reality, and I think it's now incumbent upon us to make it work. And there are two real steps I think we can take to try to ensure that it has the best possibility of succeeding. The first is to take the good parts of the project, which are there are elements in the current construction, particularly the Flatbush Avenue Bridge, that are actually necessary to help us expand rail service into West Hartford. So we have a long-term goal, which we will need a lot of cooperation with from both the state and the federal governments to have high-speed rail through Connecticut, and particularly have a high-speed rail stop in West Hartford, and that bridge was necessary to make that happen. So whatever we need to do, we need to keep our eye on the ball on that being the ultimate outcome. The second piece for development purposes is to make sure we're very proactive in our zoning to help get what's called transit-oriented development around the project. Right now, there are not, nobody's really living around there. Most of what we have are either manufacturing businesses or buildings that used to house manufacturing, not much in the way of retail. But we may be able to change our zoning in order to encourage more high-density development, kind of like what you have in Elmwood Center and West Hartford Center, that would thrive if people actually are there to use it.
Very good. Anyone else like to jump in?
Carol, I'll jump in. First of all, thank you very much, and thank you to your organization for putting this on, for everybody who's been assisting in this wonderful evening. This is actually a great opportunity for us. I was also opposed to the busway, but now that we have it, the biggest challenge we face in West Hartford is an over-reliance on the residential property tax. And that's not something that I've only been saying, that's something that the mayor and I think many of my colleagues on the town council agree with. So here's an opportunity. It's a tough task because of the cuts we've seen in the state and the federal level. So what I would propose is that we need to develop more business-to-business enterprises in West Hartford and take a maximum advantage of the busway to help increase our grand list and reduce the tax burden on our residential property owners. Technology, which enables companies like the one I work for to compete and grow, is an economic multiplier. We should not rely on Hartford to create our employment. West Hartford can do better, and we will do better, to attract technology companies to our town. As the mayor said, in and around that area, there's some areas that have been zoned for industry. I would like to work, it would be a challenge, but to work to bring businesses to West Hartford to help offset the disproportionate share of the property tax that's now residing with our 18,000 residential property tax owners, or residential owners of homes.
Hi, Carol. Thank you very much to Carol and to the League of Women Voters. We appreciate your support and all the hard work and volunteerism that goes into this as well. So thank you, and to my colleagues as well on the board, on the council, and future opportunities for those seeking. But for the fast track, it is, as the mayor has said, something that was a challenge for West Hartford. It wasn't something that was supported, and we, spoke out on that front. But at this time, it is a reality, and what can we do to help the residents to look forward to a future that includes this new busway? I think that really concentrating on having more affordable housing, densely populated areas is very important. Having something that would allow them to have easier travel to other areas and have that transportation for working. So maybe they could live in West Hartford and travel to other places to work. As of now, that's not an opportunity for them. So I really do see it as an opportunity for growth of something that, we're going to turn it into a positive and hopefully have some stronger commerce. That area, as I drove through it yesterday, as I do many times to some of the businesses over there, they've been hard hit. And so looking at some things to revamp the area, breathe new life into some of those areas, I think would be key to supporting those businesses in that area and just spotlighting that area. And I think that will become another draw in West Hartford.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I did have a question, if I may, of Judy. Judy, you mentioned that you wanted to have more dense population down in that area. Is that correct?
For housing.
Is this
Okay.
the format, Carol? May I
Yeah,
ask?
yeah.
Yes,
This
you
is
can
informal?
rebut.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to check.
Yes.
So more housing, such as like the Goodwin complex that they have, that the council approved for Elmwood?
Not necessarily, I think that with West Hartford, we tend to draw development and investment from many different areas, and I think that that would open up an opportunity for someone who would see opportunity here, like they have at Bishop's Corner, like they are at St. Mary's Home, different areas that we're looking at. So I think that just opening it up for the imagination of what we could develop there, and we always take our time in thoughtful planning to look at where we want the town to go. We don't rush into anything. This wasn't our choice. So what we can do with it now is important to take the time to look at what our opportunities would be and to look at what the community needs and the direction that we would like West Hartford to go in, just as we've done all the other things like Blueback Square and Bishop's Corner and Elmwood. All the development there is really geared towards what we want the community to be. So we're going to continue that focus and not just look to put a Band-Aid on that area. We're really going to look to develop it to make the best use for all the community.
Okay, so staying in this area, though, because you've mentioned development in the town has a plan of development. And so a good question would be, and this goes to this side first because of number one was on this side, does that development plan support your vision, or does it need to have some changes? And we could specify a couple of other development possibilities, looking at Yukon Branch, possible move. We've got the neighborhood behind the American School for the Deaf that is up for development, and a lot of citizens are raising questions about that. So how does our plan of development work, and what about these other development possibilities?
Well, I think while there's always room for improvement in the plan, I think the incredible amount of investment we're having right now that we're going to see into the next council term shows that it's working. I think going forward, you're going to see from everybody, really. This comes from bottom up, from people on the TPZ and Conservation Environment Commission, all the way to the council members and other volunteer commissions we have who provide recommendations, that there's going to be an increased emphasis on pedestrian access and bicycle accessibility and within the plan and protection of open space. But I believe our role with the plan is to try to be a vehicle for investment. We need to encourage investment. And what we've seen over the last several years, but we're going to see in particular in this coming term, is we're attracting more investment than perhaps any community in Connecticut. We have been very careful in what we try to attract. We've become nationally known for development such as Blueback. It's the most obvious. But by developing things that are quality but also fit well with the neighborhood, that protect the integrity of the neighborhoods and fit well with the surroundings. We're going to see in the next term, we're going to have luxury housing likely on Park Road. We have the hotel coming up for the center. We've covered it in the first question, we'll see more investment in and around Elmwood. And so as I said, I think it's working, but we're always going to look for ways to tweak it for particular weaknesses that sometimes get exposed in a development application here or there.
Okay.
Just a quick follow-up. I think business to business, West Hartford has been remarkably successful in becoming a retail center, and I think it's due to a lot of hard work on both sides of the aisle. And so it's really something we can be proud of. But the issue we face, and it's a tough problem, is how to balance our tax revenues so that not so much of it is dependent on the residential owner. And so tech corridors, good business development parks, looking to go to, instead of business to consumer, B2C, but to focus on business to business, where people are actually not only living here and eating here and enjoying the centers and and Elmwood and all of our other business establishments, but actually work in West Hartford. That's a challenge, and that's exciting, and I'd like to be part of it.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just very briefly, I think that the responsible development of our commercial sectors is essential for reducing the tax burden on our residents. So I agree with Burke that we need to have more business-to-business development in the sectors around the busway, as well as along Park Road. I disagree with any sort of dense residential buildings. I was opposed to the Goodwin complex in Elmwood. because I felt that was too big for the neighborhood. A lot of single-family houses that were down there, and I just felt that that was not a good fit. So I'd like to try to stay away from that sort of development. I think that's maybe residential development in residential zones would be appropriate, but I think we really need to concentrate on business development in our commercial sectors to reduce the tax burden on our residents.
I'd like to respond to that because not every application can be perfect. Not every one fits right in a neat description of a box. And so an application might fit some of those parameters, but you find out in this particular spot, this particular design, it doesn't work. And there was a reasonable debate about that. And the Goodwin, Burke, and I both, for odd reasons, had to sit that application out, so we weren't part of the process. But if you're against density, Mr. Bister, that means you're against Blueback Square. You're against all of the other condominium-type housing that is some of the highest valued property in all of Greater Hartford. And if you're against that and you're trying to concentrate residential development in residential areas, I got news for you. It's all developed. And then you're not going to grow the tax base because there's nothing there to do. So if you want to make a blanket statement that you're against that stuff, you have now wiped out the exact thing that has been our key to our success to help try to hold costs down and is what has put us on the map nationally. I'm proud of that development, and we have been the cutting edge because of that, and we are admired because of that.
Judy?
So I would like to say a few things about the Goodwin in and of itself. It was something that I did sit in on. And it was one of those things that had they not had expansion, we would not have had the opportunity to even have any say in the matter at all. They were originally approved for one thing, and because they were expanding, they came before the council for a decision. So we did approve the expansion of that for that growth for the area. But what that enabled us to do, barring not feeling that it would bring down the home values in Elmwood, it enables us to have an expansion of living areas, affordable living areas. But when we say affordable, that does not mean everyone from outside of West Hartford. As Councilwoman Cantor and I focused on was the fact that our children now who are graduating from college could now come back and have places that they could afford on their own, that they would also, so they become thriving centers of life for the next generation. West Hartford is a wonderful place to live, but it is a challenge for younger people. Our cost of living is higher. We're working on keeping our tax base down. We're focusing on those things, but what's going to keep us vital, what's going to keep us alive is focusing on the next generation and growing it. And what about the seniors who have lived in our community? I'm part of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. What about the seniors who wish to downsize but don't want to leave their friends in their neighborhood? This affords them an opportunity as well as they're going to a fixed income. And what about single family, head of households who can no longer afford that dual income home that they lived in for all of those years? This gives them an opportunity to stay in West Hartford, to have the wonderful quality of schools that they've grown up in, the quality that they've really worked hard for, but no longer have to give up because of life circumstances. So that's, I think, a very important part. And also, just, when you have single family homes, you have those incomes and they're growing their children, but for economic reasons, do they get to go out to all the restaurants, and are they going to be able to support all the new growth that's coming there? Well, when you have all these, single people living in, this housing, they're going to go and frequent those restaurants even more because they're not going to be cooking. We've got the great Stop and Shop down there, but they're going to be looking for other things. So that's going to keep that commerce growing for everyone and keep it a place that we can all go to and appreciate.
You have brought up a question that we've had, and that is affordable housing and focusing on both ends of the spectrum as well as any in the middle. With everything that's been happening in our world, the Great Recession, the sequester, and now the shutdown of government, and many people without salaries at the moment, that could certainly impact the kinds of things that you were talking about here too. So any further comments about how we manage to do we have enough affordable housing with this Goodwin project? Are there other places where we should have affordable housing? What is West Hartford doing or prepared to do in this area to keep our young people here and to be able to allow our seniors to stay here?
Carol, if I may. I think that one of those things would be that we look to just to, for the Goodwin project as well. It's not, it's a mixed use. It's not just for affordable housing. It's a blend. And I think that that's one of the things that fits well for West Hartford, and that's something that we want to continue to expand on, the dual use and mixing both conventional and affordable housing into the same area, and being able to focus on keeping it a well-kept, we've known to keep it for upkeep and keep it high quality, just like everything else that we look for in West Hartford.
I'll make a quick comment, Carol. Look, West Hartford is just fabulous in the sense of its diversity, and we all should applaud that. And we should do everything we can to attract young people to come and live here. And the Goodwin Project was an attempt to do that. As Scott said, I didn't sit on that vote at the time, but I can tell you the West Hartford Public Housing Authority is an outstanding organization. I live on just off of Whiting Lane. What they built in the old parent school is a fabulous demonstration of their excellence in terms of what they build, a facility that's quality for the elderly. I don't think it's in either party's view that we shouldn't be looking to develop affordable housing in West Hartford. We have some wonderful two-family houses. The issue I have, and I think the challenge for all of us, is how can we work again and again to make it affordable for people to maintain these nice homes and to invest here, and at the same time, with incomes dropping, with a high unemployment, be able to provide residences with not such a significant burden on an escalating property tax. I know I'm a broken record. I'm working on it. It's not that I'm frustrated by it, but I see it as a fabulous challenge, and I want to work on it.
I'd like to make a few comments as well. First of all, I did want to respond to Mayor Slifka's comments. I'm not opposed to large residential mixed-use properties such as Blueback. Certainly that has been a success, and West Hartford is known for that. The thing that I was opposed to with regard to the Goodwin was putting essentially an apartment building in an area of single-family homes. I think that affordable housing is necessary. Certainly, we can attract younger people, certainly senior citizens. As part of my practice, I deal, the majority of my clients are indigent. So I understand the difficulties that they have in finding housing, finding jobs. I represent people in family court. So oftentimes they had enough money to barely get by when they were supporting one household, and now because of divorce, they now find themselves having to maintain two households. So I understand the difficulties that they face. And I think that we do want to try to keep those people in West Hartford and not have them moving out of town. So I wanted to be clear on that. And certainly the Housing Authority, I agree, is great. They had a good project there. It didn't fit the neighborhood, and then the neighborhood was opposed to it. And if I'm elected to the town council, I'm going to listen to the people that are in the neighborhood. And I want to be their voice on the town council.
Thank you. Let's move on to what is usually a big question having to do with our taxes and budget. Some of our budget comes from state and federal sources. And we could anticipate that there will be some cuts in those areas given what's going on. How would you prioritize our programs and services? Are there increases, tax increases that are going to be demanded? Is that preferable over eliminating services? I know over the years there have been a lot of adjustments to program and always attempts not to have taxes go up, but they do. So address what is it we have to do in prioritizing what our town does.
Well, Carol, I guess this is a good opportunity to point out to everybody that yesterday our 21 nurses in the public schools, working with Rick Ledwith in our town, came to a 3-year contract on reforming some of and reducing some of their benefits for the good of the kids, for the good of in fairness to the other taxpayers in this town. That demonstration of a willingness to work together collectively in a community to help reform the retirement benefit problem, which is plaguing municipalities not only in the state of Connecticut but across the country, is a great illustration. And I didn't want to let my time go by not recognizing the nurses tonight, particularly because I'm married to a nurse. And she would be very upset with me if I didn't do it. So I think it's a great thing. It was part of an article in the paper that also pointed out that the Board of Ed is very close to appointing a new successor to Karen List. They have someone here in town who they're high on. I'm high on that person. I hope we don't have to go on a national search. That would be another way that we can reduce some expense. We've got someone very qualified here in this town who will do an excellent job of leading our public schools.
Well, I go back to the question was sort of how do we react to state and federal cuts and what are our priorities? So a couple things on that. First is my philosophy is whatever we do, it should be balanced and it should go to the taxpayer last. This year's budget, Burke made some allusions to it here. Very proud of the fact we had a unanimous budget in a campaign year. I don't know the last time that happened in the town of West Hartford. There's certain pressures that come about in an election year, and this group got together and passed what we felt was a very modest increase. It was an increase nonetheless. We all labor over that very hard, but ultimately the group got together and made a responsible decision, and I'm proud of everybody that took part in that. But in terms of the cut situation, I have a bit of a different perspective because the reality is West Hartford has been operating in effect a deficit situation with respect to the state and federal governments for at least 15 years or so because the education cost sharing grant has never been funded at the amount it's supposed to. So that's in excess, and we've almost lost count, but in excess of about $150 million that was supposed to come back to the town, and we've had to operate without it for all of this time. So we know how to do that. And then specifically, if you're talking about a crisis situation where it happens very suddenly as a result of changes in the economy like we had in 2008, well, then I'd point to what we did in 2008 and 2009 following that crash. We cut spending by $647,000. We preserved education and police services and every other public service by renegotiating contracts with our unions. And we did an unprecedented $32 million cut to our capital budget. And that combination, which also allowed, in that situation, we also fully funded the pension obligation. Also not an easy thing to do under those circumstances, but we did it. So not only do I know how to operate in this in a general environment, but we've done it and done it well in a crisis environment. And we hope we don't have to face it, but if it were to come again, I know what we do, and we go to the taxpayer last.
Anyone else?
Yes, just briefly. With regard to the funding that from state and federal agencies, if I'm elected to the town council, I will fight for the funding that our town deserves and put constant pressure on our state and federal representatives to do likewise. I think that this is insane that the ECS funding that the town deserves, that we have not been able to get that. And I think that our elected representatives need to address that situation. And if I'm elected to the town council, I will fight for that ECS funding that the town deserves. I will also work with town officials to streamline our government and eliminate bureaucratic red tape and become more efficient. I don't subscribe to the belief that you have to prioritize spending or that you have to raise taxes to cover things. I think that it's possible that you can increase services and decrease taxes. And that would be my goal if elected to the town council.
Do you have a suggestion? One idea you could share with the voters tonight?
Well,
Because Burke and I and Judy would love to know about it.
again, I think that we need to put pressure.
No, I mean an idea. Pressure and I'll fight. These are vague concepts. They're great for an election. But the three of us have been at the table and know how hard it is when you have to face that exact decision. And there are no easy choices. And words like fight and I'll manage and prioritize and efficiencies and all that stuff, they don't work when you're looking at the hard choices. And so I'd love to hear if you have just one idea. I'd really appreciate it.
Well, I think that as an elected official, I think that, and certainly I know that everybody that's on the town council is working hard. West Hartford wouldn't be the great town that it is if they didn't. I'm just saying that I think that we need to take a second look at everything and say, where can we make things a little bit better? Do we have anything that's duplicative within our town government that we can say, okay, we can combine these two departments? And that's all I'm saying. I think that we need to do that and take a second or third or fourth look at that.
Still didn't hear an idea, but maybe you'll
Maybe
get
I'll
to it
jump
later.
in for just a second.
Sure.
Obviously, and Scott, we obviously, all of us here appreciate good ideas. I have an idea. It's now costing the town about $1 million to pave Farmington Avenue from Trout Brook to Artmore. And I went to see Ron Van Winkle, our manager, and I talked to him about this because since I'm in machinery and manufacturing, I thought, why don't we invest in a piece of capital that can do that job more efficiently? We'll depreciate it over time. We may be able to finish that road work in a fraction of the time it's costing us, helping to reduce operating expenses. Of course, that's a capital investment, but I think it's the ideas that my colleagues on the council and I wrestle with on a daily basis. We got to go now look at that. How is it possible? Ron said to me, do you know of such a machine? I said, yes, I do. And I don't sell that particular machine, but I know the types of machines that do that. And think about it for a minute. Farmington Avenue, this is not the expense that the MDC paid to do their work with the utilities, which had to be done. I'm talking just about the concrete, which is the underlying part of the road, and the asphalt from Trout Brook to Artmore, 2,000 feet, $1 million. We can do better. I know it's not a Republican town or a Democratic town or a Republican idea or a Democratic. These are good ideas, bringing them out, then flushing them out, working on it, and see if we can come to an area where we can reduce the costs and still have the services. It can be done. And I think the mayor would not disagree with that. I think he supports good ideas, and I know, Ted, that you do have good ideas. It's hard to sometimes be put on the spot, so I don't, I understand. But we got to keep working on good ideas.
And if you'd finish, I'd actually agree with you. I think, my friend Burke's right. This wasn't your question, but I think it brings up another point that I'm very proud of the work that this group of 9 on the council has done, which we've done it with civility. We don't always agree, but Burke has an idea. I don't know if it works, right? But it deserves to be heard, and it's not going to be rejected out of hand because Burke happens to be a Republican. We should listen, and if it's a good idea, it should be enacted, no matter who came up with it. And that's something that has been done on the council in recent years, but it's not done everywhere. As we're sitting here today, as you mentioned, Washington is literally closed, right? And it's because the two parties can't talk. In this town, they have been. And I hope that whatever comes out of this election doesn't change that, because it would be a real shame to lose that level of civility and that sharing of ideas like you're even seeing at the table here tonight.
I think it worked in well with the question. So talk a little bit about what is called underfunding, and yet we also heard, I think, Scott, you said fully, you used the word fully, and but we need to have a little more context about what you mean by fully funded versus something that is underfunded by large percentages when you talk about what the total, what is it, 300 with the health and pension. It's 300 million or more than that?
Approximately.
Yeah, okay. So talk a little bit about that, whoever wants to start.
Well, I mean, I think it's, again, in New Haven tonight, there are two remaining candidates for the mayoral race. And both of them share the belief, which I think is the case here in West Hartford, that the city's pension system needs reform. It's very similar here. And they disagree, though, on some of the specific changes that need to be done. And that's also the case here. This is a very complicated topic. It requires a lot of thought, a lot of critical thinking. People got to work at it. But there's going to be a discussion, and there is a discussion between both parties here in West Hartford about just what is the reform, how much teeth is in it, because it's going to have to be fairly significant. At the same time, we should never demonize municipal workers. We should never say that, somehow that the tactics of some other members of the Republican Party that want to tear down the role of a firefighter. That's not my approach. My approach, though, is reform. And I think if you think about what we have now in West Hartford, about 44 cents of what we have in hand to pay for a dollar's worth of benefits. We got to work at that. And we're going to put forward a lot of ideas. There's lots of them. We don't have nearly enough time to talk about them tonight. But I can tell you, my colleagues, Denise Hall and myself, who are currently on the council, and my other candidates who are running, are thinking about this issue. We should, and I'm sure that my Democratic colleagues are as well.
Anyone?
So, yeah, I think that when we're looking at the budgets, we have to look backwards a little bit too to see how the teachers' unions, they've worked. They've come in at zero for a couple of years on their contract. They're willing to work with us. I think that when we're looking at the people who have already retired, which is a great percentage of our cost, we can't go backwards and say, you've not earned that, when that's what they're planning to live on for their future. So we can't go backwards, but how can we do it smarter going forward? We're working on those things, and we're welcoming all ideas in order to create a defined benefit plan for them, but that they're cost sharing in their 401ks, creating new plans for them to be able to move forward into their retirement future, just as all of us have had to have those burdens in our personal lives. Not everyone has a pension, but we'll look forward to being able to create some retirement plans for everyone that would work for both the taxpayer and the employees as we're looking to move forward into the future.
Okay.
Sure.
I think that we obviously must honor our obligations to our current employees and retirees. I think with new contracts or with new hires, we need to shift to a benefit plan that's going to be a lot more comparable to what's out there in the private sector. And if we can't get the municipal employees to accept a benefit plan that's in line with the private sector, then perhaps we can save some money by going to the private sector and asking companies that are out there to perhaps provide some of the goods or services that the town needs, that we may be able to save some money that way and get things cheaper.
I'll just put a little more specificity into the answer we've heard. Now, the pension's very complicated. The way Burke and Judy laid it out is right. And what people have to know is it's going to take a long time to solve. This is not something that happens overnight. It's also something that's plaguing just about every municipality that you're going to find. And those, if you go around to other communities that may say that their pension fund is in a good place, I can almost guarantee you that their numbers aren't honest. West Hartford's numbers are where they are, in part because we have gone back and made sure that they are accurate, to make sure we went back and updated our actuarial tables to account for the fact that people were living longer. And what did that do? It increased the liability, but it was honest. And the reason we're talking about it tonight is because we've told you about that. And that's what we do here in West Hartford. But I have spent 12 years working on this. When I first came on the council, I inherited a situation where the pension had not been funded in 12 years. Town put no money into it for 12 years, and I immediately reversed that. Since that time, to your question, we have 100% funded every year the amount that the actuaries tell us we need to invest in order to pay it off long-term. But it's not going to happen in 1 year because there's other variables involved in this. You have what happened in the stock market. So for 12 years, we fully fund it. We've made adjustments to lower the liabilities, but we didn't get the market gains that we were hoping for. And that's just reality with pension plans. It's frustrating, but it's reality. Through union to contract negotiations, we've increased the amount that have been contributed by the employees by 400% during that time. And the something called a normal cost, which is the amount of payroll that we have to devote to pension costs, has gone down from about 10.5% when I first came in office to 5.7% today. Those are the variables we can control. 62% of the problem, though, is already out the door. Like Judy said, it is to retirees, and we can't change their benefits. And so, bringing that back, in alignment is the challenge. We're going to get there as long as we're committed to this plan, making the benefits more like what you see in the private sector and more affordable for our residents. But I'll point out, our AAA rating was affirmed this year, and our rating was made stable, and it was done in part because of the pension plan that we've been committed to. And I'm the first to be out of time. So I hope you're done with questions.
Carol, I'll make just one quick point.
And it has to be quick because I've been given a signal.
Okay,
Right, go ahead.
But I'm just going to say that if you look at what the nurses did this week, instead of a 3% increase, they took a 2%. And they agreed to a share of their health care costs from 6% to 13%. They're now either at 17.5 or 18.5. A lot of numbers, so I won't bore you. But the point is, it's going to come down to what are the reforms, the specific forms. And I am sure that each of us, whoever's elected in this next cycle, will be debating that topic because it's going to be important. Judy makes the right point. It is a balance between the beneficiaries of these benefits, the taxpayers, and it's got to be sustainable.
Important topic.
Well, just to add a little bit more light, Scott did a great job of explaining it. Yes, the town has been putting in the full amount of the annual required contribution every year. But if we look at the numbers, for instance, for 2014, the annual required contribution is going to be approximately $16 million. The problem that we're running into is the town is paying out approximately $22 million. So what we need to do, and certainly we're hitting that target number that the actuaries are giving us, but the problem is that if we can get $3 to $4 million that the municipal employees in total are paying into their benefits, then that's $3 to $4 million that the town doesn't have to pay out, and that's $3 to $4 million that's being paid in. So you've got a net of $6 to $8 million, which at that point makes up the shortfall of $6 million that we currently have.
Thank you. You get the last word there. So it is now time for the 2-minute closing. Our timers are resetting your timer.
There's something confusing here.
You will now have this. You are all done with the times that you have seen. Okay. Not everyone used up their 10 minutes, but some. Yeah, but you were close.
Okay. I didn't know that.
You're all within about a minute of each other. Okay, so we consider that pretty good, right? So now you get 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you guys for not saving those attack lines when I had no time left.
Thank you.
All right, so again, this was a drawing before the debate started. And by lottery, Scott, you get to go first with your closing statement. Scott Slifka.
All right. Thank you, Carol. Thank you to everybody at home who's watching. And thank you to everybody from the league for putting this on, WHC-TV for broadcasting. And for my thank you to my colleagues who are here tonight as well, both for their campaigns and for being here tonight. But thank you mostly to you at home, first for watching and participating in local government. It's not something that everybody does, but West Hartford's particularly lucky in the level of involvement we have. And also thank you for your support in past years. That I've had the honor of serving my hometown as the mayor since 2004. It's the greatest honor I've had. This is my hometown. It's where my wife and I are raising our 5-year-old who just started kindergarten at Duffy. And I have a very busy professional life, just like all my colleagues here. I'm a volunteer in this service, and a lot of you around town have asked me, my gosh, you've got a very busy life. You've done it for a long time. Why would you do it again? And the real answer to that is, how could I not? With all of the things going on and the record of accomplishment that I feel we've had, my Democratic colleagues and I during our time, how could I not continue? We've controlled spending while preserving education, public safety, and maintaining our AAA rating. This year's budget had the lowest actual spending increase in 21 years, the lowest board increase in 30 years, and the highest fund balance in 10 years. Our schools are thriving when Conard and Hall are ranked among the top 10 in the state. Our housing market is strong. Blueback Square has been a leading regional attraction. And we have development in all areas of town, Park Road, Elmwood, and a lot going on in Bishop's Corner. And just around the corner, we're going to see a new hotel and luxury housing in Park Road. We've received a lot of awards. I won't go into all of them here, but I'm very proud of it, the awards, but more how we got there. And how did we get there? Because we put performance over politics. We have prioritized doing the job for you. Unlike what you see in Washington, we view our job to not bicker on a partisan basis, but to get you value for the tax dollar that you put in this town and make you proud to live here. These things don't happen overnight. They're the product of years of sound policy making, but I think they're indicative of the support you've put this ticket. So November 5th, I ask you to support me and the entire Democratic team, and thank you again for watching.
All right. Thank you. And Burke Dorr, your turn.
Carol, thank you very much. I too want to speak directly to you, the residents of West Hartford, and to thank all of you for watching tonight and being committed to the process of good, healthy, democratic debate. And the word debate, I want to stop there, because the fact of the matter is, West Hartford is completely different than what's going on tonight in Washington. And I'm proud to be part of that. I come from a family that has worked very hard to work across party lines on difficult problems to solve for their communities. My father did it as a Republican in a Kennedy administration. My brother Robert works for Mayor Bloomberg and is the sole Republican in the Bloomberg administration. I like that tradition. I like to work on problems. I don't like partisanship, and it's been a privilege to serve as one of the 9 town councilors. What am I worried about? What am I focused on? What are the problems? The problems are, how do we create jobs, not only in West Hartford and Connecticut? How can we work to lessen the dependency on the property tax as a means to generate revenue? It's going to be a very difficult challenge because of the cuts we've seen at the state and federal level. And because of the services we're accustomed to. We want excellence in this town, and we're going to deliver it. But we've got to be creative. We've got to be imaginative. We've got to test ideas. We've got to bring out more ideas and keep working on it in a very civil, but also use critical thinking. This is not a job that is for the faint-hearted, and we've got to work at this. And so it's been a privilege to serve you, the residents of West Hartford. I hope you'll honor me with your vote on November 5th and also support my fellow Republican colleagues. We have a very good ticket this year.
Thank you, Burke. And Tad, you are next.
I also want to echo the words of Scott and Burke. I want to thank the residents of West Hartford for watching our debate tonight. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and West Hartford Community TV as well for giving us this opportunity tonight. West Hartford is a great town. That's why I've chosen to live here. We've gotten tons of awards, I understand that. And I think that's great. Our elected representatives have been doing a good job. And so that's why all of us here in town continue to live here. However, I'm not willing to settle for the status quo. And my parents raised me to always seek to improve. And I was the first person in my family to go on to graduate school because of that. And I've always, through my entire life, I've always pushed. And I'm going to continue to do that if I'm elected to the town council. I feel that, especially with the the decrease in funding from state and federal governments, that we need to have West Hartford be more self-sufficient. And we need to do that, and we need to be creative, and we need to work across party lines in order to do that. I negotiate every day with my cases, and I will continue to do that if I'm elected to the town council. But in the same token, we have to be sure that we don't compromise our neighborhoods and our ideals and beliefs here in town. I want to be a voice for the residents of the town, especially our Elmwood and Park Road neighborhoods. So I would ask for everybody's support on November 5th as well, and for the rest of the Republican team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bister. And finally, Judy Casperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and thank you to the public. I really appreciate your time and attention to this, as Scott said earlier, are all volunteers, and we're putting our time out and our energy in order to make this place the special place that it is. Recently, I was particularly interested in a patch article highlighting jobs in West Hartford, the want ads. I live here, work here, and serve here. Imagine a town that has a reputation for creating living centers, destinations all around town in different areas. When I moved here, Elmwood was not the thriving destination it is today. With the addition of grocery stores, restaurants, and other planned living conveniences, it continues to draw development and investment. Bishop's Corner has 2 outdoor restaurants right now, and that's part of the $17 million investment at Bishop's Corner. West Hartford Center and Blueback Square are busy centers of living and commerce. Our schools continue to receive national accolades, not only for the high school, but recently for Bugby. They got a local award. With the planned building of Charter Oak, we will see, through thoughtful planning, that take root as a great education center that is sorely needed in that space. But we're looking to do it smart, environmentally friendly, and technologically strong. St. Joseph's is now a university. We continue to work to meet the needs of the senior community with the Dial-A-Ride service, the revitalized Senior Job Bank, and Senior Citizens Centers, which really should be community centers because of all of the activities that go on there. Our outlook is strong, but this is the result of continued vigilance and thoughtful planning of town management in maintaining our schools, public safety, services, community, and development. The type of thinking has resulted in a boutique hotel on the horizon, as well as our AAA bond rating. And for these reasons and more, I ask for your support and for the full support of the Democratic ticket on November 5th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you all for your participation, and we thank WHC-TV for its help in bringing this program to you, our audience, and we appreciate the fact that you have tuned in and that you are trying to become educated about the candidates who hope to represent you on our town council. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. The polls are open from 6 to 8 p.m. You may recall that we now have 9 districts instead of voting places instead of 20, and the League will be putting out some information in our local media to help you with that, as I'm sure the registrars are. Good night. Thank you.